Okay, and then, so just a couple highlights, and then we'll have time for that interactive activity. Number 4 in the social section. So this is a little bit wordy, but I felt like this was kind of solution was kind of like a eureka moment for me in that partway through the trip, and that I kind of felt like I was able to connect a lot of the different elements into one idea. So I'll just read it. So it's basically love, and love, which is care, you know, the ethics of permaculture, care planet, care people, care for the future. So love on a collective or community systemic level, which only manifests itself through collective creation of sustainable or regenerative social systems in which people aren't alienated or excluded or oppressed, and in which the group can function elegantly and successfully to redesign the community's food system permaculturally, as well as redesign housing and shelter systems needed in the community, so that humankind can continue living according to a natural pattern of human existence. To say it more succinctly, collective love or care, creating sustainable communities, sustainable food, and sustainable housing. And I guess the main point is that I think that's the order it has to go. And we need to concentrate on sustainable societies and sustainable like interpersonal communication. And we need to like break those old structures that we're stuck in. Because like even when we get tons of permaculture people who are interested in sustainable community, like I even talked to like people who said their main interest is social permaculture, and I would have guessed like the opposite. But like even
I want to hear more of those stories.
like even when so even when permaculturists like have this knowledge, we're still existing within these structures. And so how do we redesign those structures? Well, it's not individual. Like we can't blame the individuals. Like you're just a bad person. You're just doing this. We need to collectively redesign that system to work for everyone. And so I would suggest, I did a presentation at the Michigan Permaculture Convergence on the Permaculture Conversation Club. And I think that's the solution to that aspect of it, which is basically just working through the permaculture principles in a methodic way, related to interpersonal communication. So like, role playing and all this, and like observe and interact. How does this apply to interpersonal communication? But that's something else that I'm hoping to develop. Yeah.
What do you think about the difference between redesigning the current systemic structures or opting out and recreating social structures?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously there's going to be a transition where there's probably both, but what do you...
I would suggest the solution to that is number 65. It depends. That was brought up. That was a good thing I took away from the conference too. Is like so many times people would be like, "It depends." The permaculture answered everything.
You gotta creatively use and respond to change.
Sure, definitely.
What's number 65?
Oh, it depends.
Oh, it depends.
Well, what do you think would be most effective today?
I mean, I think I don't know. I think it's complex. I don't think there's a right answer. I think, well, that's the other thing. Like, it can't be like a top-down thing. It can't be just one person saying like, oh, we need to interact this way. It needs to be the community deciding, and the community democratically redesigning their structure, what fits best for them, And so they would make the decision, should we just scrap the whole thing, which we probably can't do because it's ingrained in us, right? Jordan?
I guess in regard to what Ernest was saying, I feel like probably both sides of that coin are equally as important, and that you need the people who are kind of out ahead of the curve, like Bill was saying earlier, to sort of push the limits and sort of act as the goal, as well as the people who are working within the current paradigm to sort of push it along towards that goal. And without one of the two, then it's like not as feasible as if both are working together.
One in the conversations in Cuba or elsewhere is two questions. One is, are there examples that you came across, and I think perhaps you pointed to some of this in Cuba, of sufficient critical mass of poly-minded permacultural folks that those conversations can have, can achieve a majoritarian
Australia.
possibility within a community, so that you can begin that kind of social redesign with majority participation by people who get it, are willing to experiment with it. The second question is, okay, it depends, right? So specifically where you live, or where most of us live in the US, in the Midwest, with county, township, village structures, with elected representatives, et cetera, how do you see this particular situation being affected by your definition of social permaculture? So those two questions, examples that you might have heard of through Cuba, and then how would this apply right here?
Mhm. Well, I mean, like, I'd say that I don't think that social redesign has to be something done by specialists, like coming together in a community. I think it could be done by just everyday people, like anyone in their community,
Mm-hmm.
if they're conscious of, wanting to do that. So, and well, as far as examples of that, I don't know.
Well, let me clarify. My experience is that at least in this society right now, it's almost impossible for anyone to do that because we live in systems which are very centralized, both corporate and governmental, in terms of who decides their design and the process that occurs. So to affect the structure of a local government, or even down at the block or precinct level, is very difficult unless people, a majority of the people in that community get it to some degree, or maybe you've got another idea.
Well, I mean, I would say that, like, as far as like governments and top-down power structures, I think actually they're the more powerless, and like the people on your block are probably way more powerful than those. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like my idea is just to ignore the big structures and like concentrate on the personal relationships. Ernest and Becky.
The two quick examples. So in Australia, they have a Friday night organic gardening show on TV who has a permaculture segment. Okay, so the RTV that doesn't allow for that, that kind of thing very much. TV is based on commercialism and getting you to buy things and take drugs and just continue to buy things and consume everything. So that's a big shift that's just different in their TV. And of course, Canada's TV is totally different than here as well. The more local example is the Evergreen Cooperatives in Cleveland, Ohio, who's been using Mondragon and the examples that are coming out of northern Italy to base their community, I call it re-economy, and they're using cooperatives to reinvigorate the civic economy that's based on cooperation, not capitalist competition. And that's what they're doing, and they're being very successful and spreading it to other major urban areas across the country. The Democracy Project in Maryland, Democracy Collaborative, these are YouTube channels that are pumping out lectures and new lessons learned monthly on that,
But it-
Becky.
Oh, just, I was gonna say, in response to, we don't always we often think that we need a majority of people in order to have a change start to occur. And really, it's the same kind of research that has been done in the consumer world, that you need a tipping point, and the tipping point is between 12 and 18% before things start moving in the direction of whatever it is you want. And they've noticed that even with styles of shoes or whatever it is, that once you get so many people doing this, then there becomes this wave. But it also works in the social and political atmosphere too. In other words, if you get a certain number of people, and that's where I take heart, because I go, well, because sometimes I despair feeling like we're never gonna get any kind of change going here, but if we stay with it enough so that we've got, 12 to 18% of the people buying into sustainable or permaculture type principles, at some point it's gonna tip, and then you get that ripple effect and people start.
And I actually, two things, just to wrap that up, is I'm working with this group in Gary, Indiana, hoping to do some permaculture stuff along with them. And Gary is just like really impoverished today. And but anyway, this one guy, he says that as long as he can get 12 people, a dozen people throughout the community, he's pretty sure they could take over Gary. And he says that about every place actually. As long as you have a dozen committed people, you can change things, which I think is along those lines, which I think is really inspiring. And then the other thing is, like another example, I think is like, the Midwest Permaculture and the Center for Sustainable Community. Just actually walking in here this morning, and hearing all the conversation I just felt really good, and like really inspired. And so I think that was a great example of, permaculturally designed social group. So and then maybe just like one more thing, and we'll do the interactive activity.
Well, you got us on pins and needles now.
I think probably one of the most important solutions I heard, which we probably all know if we're interested in permaculture, is number 9, and this came up multiple times, and certain people throughout the conference were having conversations about how important this is, and that's reconnecting with indigenous wisdom. And bringing indigenous wisdom to the forefront of permaculture. And so I actually, Bill was talking in the morning about like, what was it, enlightenment and spirituality, and how you like the fact that permaculture isn't a religion itself, but kind of pulls from these things. It was compatible with multiple, religions, and I think that like nature-based spirituality is like really an important thing. And there was actually a workshop that Starhawk led about religion in permaculture and how.
Ooh, that was probably well attended.
Yeah, very two-sided.
Hot topic, yeah.
And so it was fascinating, just to think about these things. And so, but. I think like the indigenous wisdom, and also connecting with indigenous groups and learning from what they have to offer, these ancient practices that we've lost, I think is just a really, really important thing. And I know like I've really enjoyed the Don Miguel Ruiz like Wisdom of the Toltec from my permaculture courses. I think that's a huge thing, and that's like wisdom of the ancients. And then as far as garden practices, sustainable shelters and all this. So maybe we could do, so I guess the interactive activity is just to get together in groups of 2 or 3 people, and maybe just do it like by who you're sitting close to, like in your little row.
No, we're gonna make all the visitors hook up with a Stell person.
Oh, okay. Sure, that's
If
good.
that's all right, I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. And so, actually, if you can pick one of the solutions, quote unquote, one of the